Welcome to Man's Search for Meaning. The episode today is going to be about comfort zones. I decided to make an episode about comfort zones because I feel it's an area that I've been busy with a lot recently, especially because of my own burnout. And I also think that, comfort zones is somewhat became a dirty word these days. And I wanted to, set the record straight, at least around comfort zones. I think that a lot of you who are in the high performance space or who tend to beat themselves up for maybe watching a little bit too much Netflix or chilling a little bit too much might enjoy this episode and get a lot of value from it, even though it's short. And please let me know if you like these shorter episodes, because I want to listen to the feedback of my audience and give you guys the best way to consume information. That being said, before we start, I just want to say that this podcast is sponsored by me and me only. And if you want to help me out, I left some links to my Patreon, or if you want, you can buy me a cup of coffee. Both of the links are in the description below. And any way that you can help me support my mission is amazing. And I thank you. Without further ado, enjoy the episode. I've been thinking recently about the idea of comfort zones and why do they exist? I think we have a very large disdain for the word comfort zone in today's society, as if we're in a comfort zone, then it's bad. If we're in a comfort zone, then we're lazy. And I used to think when I was younger that there are certain emotions or certain things that when we experience them, they are redundant, like we don't need them. But as I grow and I learn things, I realize that I don't think anything is redundant. I don't think anything is useless. Everything that we experience has a point to it, has some sort of a higher service to it. And I think that comfort zones are very, very similar at that because in society today, as I said, it's like a dirty word. It's like if you're in a comfort zone, then you should get out of it as fast as possible. Otherwise, you're failing. And I think that when you're in that mindset for too long, you are on the direct path for a burnout. I was on that path for the past 3 years that I thought to myself that, I got to constantly edge out my comfort zone. I got to constantly get out of it. I got to constantly push that glass ceiling and get out of that comfort zone and do things that make me feel uncomfortable and push myself because this is the getting out of the comfort zone is the direction towards meaning and purpose. And I don't think I was wrong in a sense, but I think that when it comes to comfort zones, we shouldn't look at it as a dirty word. We shouldn't look at it as something that if you're doing, then you're doing something wrong. Whether your comfort zone is Netflix and chill, or your comfort zone is video games, or your comfort zone is just doing the same thing without kind of reinventing yourself, I think that there is a reason why we're there in this comfort zone. There is a reason why our consciousness is attracted to these comfort zones. And I think that it'll be easy to explain my argument better if we look at how children learn to interact with the world. And I would imagine that each of you who's listening, who's a parent, can relate to what I'm about to say. If you're with your child, and the child is like, let's say, in an amusement park or at the local playground or whatnot, right? The child, when it's like in really early development stages, will seek the closeness of the parent because this is a comfort zone, right? This is a safe space. But they will sometimes kind of edge out of that comfort zone, right? They would go away towards the sandbox or step away from the parent's circle to try something new, whether it's like jumping off one of the ramps or playing with other kids or digging in the sand or whatever. And they will constantly test what's the parent's reaction. And they will also be constantly testing their own inner emotions about the situation that they are currently in, right? And the more they test, the further they get from their comfort zone, right? Because there's an element of fear to back away from the parent. There's an element of danger. What if I lose mommy? What if I lose daddy? What if I fall? What if something happens, right? And then two things might happen. Either they come back to check. In other words, they come back and give you a hug. They come back and stay next to you. Why? Because they want to experience a comfort zone. They want to experience a safe space where they can recover, understand in their body that they're safe, and then they can go for another adventure in the sandbox or with other kids. Alternatively, what happens is that they went a little bit too far out of their comfort zone. For example, they fell and got a boo-boo, or they got into a fight with another kid, or they got stung by a bee, or they saw something that scared them. And then what do? They either run back to their parents, right, to receive this dose of comfort zone, to establish in their body, like, oh, okay, I'm safe, right? Or they call their parent to bring the comfort zone to them, right? Come get me. I'm scared. Come get me. I'm hurt. And then once the child recovers, in other words, they spent enough time in their comfort zone, they're all ready to go back to their adventure again. Or maybe they need more time in their comfort zone. Maybe, this day has been too much and the parent decides, okay, today is now over and it's a good time to go home to the ultimate comfort zone, right? And have a nap. So you're ready to take on the world the following day. I think that this is the perfect example of why comfort zone exists, right? If we look at our lives as adults, comfort zone exists so we can recover from whatever it is that we're doing. We constantly push ourselves, if it's work or if it's the gym, if it's at the gym, or if it's trying to find a partner, or if it's going to on dates, right? Going to events. We're going out into the world and we're challenging ourselves. And this takes up resources. And oftentimes we need to recover those resources. How do we recover those resources? By stepping into comfort zones, right? Comfort zones can also be routines. Yeah, it doesn't have to be only staying at home, not doing anything, or Netflix and chill, right? We step into our routines because our routines are a comfort zone that makes us feel safe. So you can already guess, I guess, why when I say that if we abolish comfort zone from our lexicon, if we say that we constantly need to push ourselves out of our comfort zone, what's going to happen? We don't have enough safe space. We don't have enough space to recover. We don't have enough as I said, space, for lack of a better word, to recover our energies. I think that somehow in the space of people who would listen to this podcast, yeah, I would imagine that these are mostly people who are seeking to get better, who are seeking to improve themselves or whatnot, mostly men, and us men, there's a lot of people out there who say, just get out of that comfort zone and push. If you don't push, you're failing, there's such a huge danger of not recovering our energies in the spaces by, even when you, out of a lack of choice, go to a comfort zone because you're so destroyed from whatever it is that you did throughout the day, you're beating yourself up over it. You're watching a movie and you're saying, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be listening to a productive podcast, right? You're laying in bed until 9 a.m. or until 10 a.m. and you're thinking to yourself, fuck, like, I should be productive right now. I should be kicking it at the gym. I should be writing this email. I should be doing something that makes me better or whatnot. I should step out of that comfort zone. Like, every moment that you spend in your comfort zone is a moment wasted. I highly disagree. Comfort zone exists so we can recover again. But I don't want to say that there's no danger in a comfort zone, right? Because a comfort zone is essentially, it's a little bit like chocolate, you know, it can be very easily, it can be too much of a good thing in a sense that let's again let's look at chocolate, right? You can eat chocolate and it's really tasty and it's really fulfilling and it's really nice. You know, after you had a nice meal, you can have a few cubes of chocolate and it feels lovely. But if you eat too much chocolate, a lot of bad shit might happen, right? Like you could gain weight, you can become addicted to sugar. If you do that for a really long amount of time, you can even become insulin resistant. Like a lot of stuff could happen from eating too much chocolate. Um, so I tend to think that comfort zone is a little bit like that because it's tempting to stay there for a long time, right? Even if you beat yourself up over it, sometimes you're just there because it's so tempting, you know. Like personally, I could if I have a good video game, I could spend way too much time on it because it's so much fun and I love it so much, especially if there's a skill curve or an element of a story that fascinates me. I will, I can spend way too much time that I need on video games. Um, and video games is in essentially a comfort zone, you know, and I can invent a bunch of stories and why it's good to play video games. Um, you know, I could play Dark Souls forever just because I heard Elon Musk once say that there is something that really helps you focus by learning difficult games. And I agree. It develops confidence and it helps you become, like, in a sense, hyper focused, and it teaches you and you feel good when you are doing something difficult. But at the same time, if I stay too long at home playing PlayStation, like nothing would happen for my life. Nothing would amount to me, you know. So I'm well aware that this is a comfort zone, and when I'm spending time in that comfort zone, I need to allow myself spend that time, but not stay there too long. Right? So I guess what I'm trying to say here to sum everything up is that comfort zone is a matter of a balance, right? There is a balance between, let's say that there is a spectrum. And on one side of the spectrum, there's the people who say that comfort zones is something to abolish, that we should not even be in our comfort zone because every moment in our comfort zone is a moment wasted. And on the other side of that would be staying in our comfort zone forever and never moving an inch because it's so comfortable, right? And to that side, I will always say, are you comfortable? So are you happy or are you comfortable? Right? This is a very important question we can ask ourselves if we spend too long in that comfort zone. Are you happy or are you comfortable? Because if we look at the large portion of society that preoccupies themselves with staying in that comfort zone, okay, and if we take like the classic archetype of the person who's always in the comfort zone, right? This is the person who is overweight, addicted to momentary happiness, just works their 9 to 5 without thinking about where it leads them, living paycheck to paycheck because they spend all their money on momentary happiness, right? Um, you know, getting home from work and just Netflixing until they go to bed because there's nothing else to do or whatnot, not thinking about how to reinvent themselves at all. Just like, living and camping in the comfort zone forever. If you think about this person, I would not say that this is a very joyful person. Like, I wouldn't like to be this person because there's nothing joyful about their life. And I don't think that they're even aware that there's nothing joyful about their life because they're so busy chasing this momentary happiness, right? And on the other side, the archetype of the other person would be a person who is so burnt out that kind of like their comfort zone is getting out of the comfort zone, right? They're so burnt out with kicking ass and they just don't know how to change it because every time they try to relax, they beat themselves up on how they should be kicking ass right now. So I guess in the end, the conclusion of this whole comfort zone debate, self debate rather, is that comfort zone are necessary. Comfort zone are needed. We need to allow ourselves to be mediocre. You need to allow ourselves to be in this space where nothing is happening, where no progress is being made, right? That we're literally stagnated. We need to allow ourselves this space when we are, quote unquote, not growing, not becoming better, not becoming stronger, not becoming wiser. But in fact, we're doing something completely stupid. We're doing something that is completely useless, because that time allows us to recover. That time allows us to be useful later, to grow later. A little side note on that. I am also very aware that there are many people, especially the insecure high achievers, who will purposefully create comfort zones. And while they're there, they will tell themselves, I am here so I can grow more, right? I'm trying to be productive in my comfort zone by being in my comfort zone. And they're trying to do productive activities in their comfort zone. Like, yeah, my comfort zone is reading a book about philosophy, or my comfort zone is listening to an interesting lecture. You know, I would call bullshit on that and say that your comfort zone, I don't want to say should, but could be just sitting on the couch, watching a movie, and eating a bag of popcorn. Because our brain needs to be absolved of responsibility. It needs this caressing hug. It needs this time to literally be held, whether it is by your woman, or whether it is by your mommy, or whether it is by the universe, or by yourself, right? Literally be held so it can recover. This is something that I learned deeply over the past 2 years. And I'm witnessing myself that even when I'm recording this podcast, there's something about starting to record it that I'm a little bit afraid of, because for me, recording this podcast, uploading this podcast, talking to my audience, as I kind of mentioned in the previous episode, it became something that I was afraid of, because it required a lot of effort from me in a sense. But as I'm trying to do things differently, I'm really scared of getting burned out again, right? But when I'm trying to do things differently now, I kind of step out of that comfort zone in times that I want to step out of the comfort zone, right? It's really important for me that I will want to do something, and that I won't show up from an approach of I have to do it. Because I think that, like, even right now when I'm speaking to you guys, I'm speaking from a place that is significantly more authentic than when I'm I don't know, trying to do something, or trying to communicate something, or trying to bring something across. Like, I'm literally sharing my thought process here live with you on the microphone. And yeah, I do have some notes of stuff that I want to talk about. And sometimes I break off and then I'll edit it a little bit, sure. But potato, like, you know what I mean? I'm literally just trying to communicate my thoughts here in a way that I feel is the most authentic to who I am, and that I hope give value to you, the listener. This is why these episodes will be a little bit shorter, because I hope that you can digest an idea over your 30-minute car ride, or over your 20-minute lunch break, or whatnot, and that you don't have to listen to this in takes for like hours and hours. Lastly, before we finish up, I just want to say that if you want to participate in my mission, and you want to help me bring that message across, I've left links for my Patreon, as well as you can buy me a cup of coffee. Of course, check out any other podcast episodes from before, my previous interviews with Emmanuel Pascari or Carrie Miriam. And I really hope that you'll find value in them because these are evergreen. I believe that they are still, up to this day, worthwhile listening because they address the human soul. And I truly believe that each of these episodes is gold. Not because I did it, but because of the people who did it with me. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to recording another episode for you guys. See you soon.